Hello, and welcome to episode 141 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. Today on the podcast, we are talking about hiring people, whether you want to hire someone as an employee versus an independent contractor. There are pros and cons to each, and there are definitely some rules and regulations around them. And I definitely have an opinion in one way or another of what I recommend. So you're going to have to listen in and find out what I have to say about it. Before we get to that, I want to remind you that we're going to do the Launch Your Business Bootcamp for July and August. You can sign up right now. It's open and you actually can have some pre-work to get you up and running before our course really starts. So check that out. Links in the show notes. Now let's talk about hiring. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. So, part of the growth of owning a business might be that you need to take on someone else to help you with the business. You might have more work than you can handle, and growth is good. You don't always have to grow, but if you'd like to, often it's a way to make more income and to serve more clients. And so you will likely want to get some help. Now, the easiest way to hire somebody is to hire them as an independent contractor, if that is something that is available to you in your state. We'll touch on that later, the legal side of it. But from personal experience, I've also gone through hiring people versus independent contractors and then as employees. And the thought of having an employee is very scary to a lot of people. And they just bypass it altogether and never even consider having an employee or setting their business up so it can have employees, as opposed to just having independent contractors. Today, we're going to reframe that fear and show how hiring employees and not just independent contractors can be a smart and sustainable move for your business. So let's talk about some of the fears that come up when someone says, oh, do you have an employee or are you thinking about hiring an employee? Some of the con fears are it's too expensive because there are additional things you have to provide when you are an employer. There are certain requirements by the labor law in your state. And, you're paying part of their taxes as well. And you might be required to provide some health care and maybe retirement, but those are all added expenses in the overhead. You might have a fear about how to manage someone. Maybe you've never managed a person before, never been a supervisor or in that type of position. And so trying to manage someone and delegate is definitely a skill to learn and to develop. If you have an employee, you have a contract with them, you're committed to having them on your team, whether it is for a year or maybe 10 years. And so it might seem like a huge commitment. Maybe you're afraid of commitment. And another fear could be, what if it slows me down or creates more work? Having someone alongside me in the business where I have to stop and explain everything, or they make mistakes and I have to correct them or pay for them. And there's a myth that the ease of having an independent contractor is better and that it's low risk, but usually low risk gives lower reward than higher risk. And it's usually you want an independent contractor as a short-term solution that maybe creates long-term instability if you're to keep it on for very long as an independent contractor. There's less commitment by the contractor to you. Even if you have a contract in place, there's less things that you can require of them if you're doing everything correctly and legally. So let's talk about my journey into hiring people. So when I had my business growing, I decided I needed some help. And my first couple of hires who weren't hires were people who were interns at the local college that I went to, Sacramento State. As a part of their program, they're required to have an internship, preferably with a designer who has passed the NCIDQ. And so I qualified for that. I made my business available to the college, and I was like, yeah, I love mentoring people. So I'd love to have an intern on, kind of show them the ropes. And then in turn, they get credit for working for me. So I didn't have to pay them by state law. And I didn't feel like I could afford it at the time. And so I didn't pay my interns. It was nice to have the help, but there was a lot of handholding that had to be done, and it took extra time for a lot of things. And so I felt like it was a balance of them getting experience and me getting a little bit of help. So I had several interns for a few years. I had also a good colleague friend who was wanting to learn under me. And so I would have her a few hours here and there, and I'd pay her. She had her own business, and so she was like an independent contractor. Then I needed some more regular part-time help. Designer let me know that someone who had reached out to her was looking for part-time work, and this person had actually applied to be an intern before, but it didn't work out because she ended up getting an internship somewhere else before I could take her on. Anyway, I decided to have her come on as an independent contractor part-time. At that time here in the state of California, it was still okay to hire her as an independent contractor. I'll get into that a little bit later. But while she was working for me, so she worked part-time for a couple years before she got to a place where she needed to come on full-time. Before we got there, though, my business had grown quite a bit. My CPA recommended I was the sole proprietor and I didn't have an LLC or anything. So he recommended I was getting enough income that I should set my business up as an S-Corp, which is what I did. I switched over to an S-Corp. And when you're a corporation, then you are an employee of your business. Even if you have no other employees, you as the business owner are an employee of your corporation. And so you have to set up payroll and all those things. So I did that. My bookkeeper helped me, who is an independent contractor. My first hire, actually, I didn't mention, was the bookkeeper. Keep my books sorted, and she'd do like 10 hours a month or something like that as needed. Anyway, so she helped me set up my payroll and all of that. She's still doing my payroll to this day. It's been great to have her along this journey. But once my company was set up in that fashion, having one employee to two employees on the business end of it was not a big deal to change. And so when my part-time person needed to go on full-time, decided, yeah, I'll hire you as an employee and we'll move forward in that way. So I think for me, what really helped get me over the fear of hiring an employee was actually setting my company up correctly as a corporation where I had to have payroll. And there's a whole slew of reasons why you should set your company up in this way, different corporation styles that you can set it up as. But really having this kind of official separation and not being a sole proprietor helps you to see your business in a more legitimate way. And being an employee of yourself is great, especially if you're going to go buy a house or buy a car and you need to have that credit. You have a W-2 that you can show. You're no longer just self-employed, which a lot of creditors don't see as regular income. Having a W-2 really can change things for you. And also that means that you have to meet payroll every month or every 2 weeks. It really encourages you to make sure that you're bringing in the money to pay yourself. Some sole proprietors who don't have their company set up this way end up not paying themselves. The money goes back into the company and they never pull any money out, which is a terrible way to live because well, you're not getting any of the benefits of working so hard. So what changed for me once I had the business was that I had a committed employee who was committed to me, but also I was committed to them. I was helping to build this person's life. They were relying on me for income, and I was a big part of that. And it really gave me a sense of purpose. and fulfillment to have an employee. It allowed me to scale up, take on more projects because she was working more hours, and it gave me more freedom of time as well because we were both having regular paychecks, a certain number of hours for her as an independent contractor that she was relying on, which is not always guaranteed, but I knew that she was getting regular income and I was getting regular income. Now, to be honest, going back, I was still learning how to run a business well at that time. And I was still working on my money mindset. It was a process. And when I did have my first employee, I was scared and I started out paying her more than I was paying myself. I wasn't sure that the company could support both of us. And so I said, this is the salary I'm giving you, but I'm going to pay myself less because I just don't know if I can commit to that. And it took me a couple of years to really figure out like, oh, hey, we can make this work. I need to be paying myself more. Even for my husband to see my business legitimately, that he saw a paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, it was just helpful for him because he's more of a person that looks at the facts. When I talk about the potential income profit of shareholder distributions and things like that, he's like, what's in the paycheck? And so for him, it was helpful. So it helped our marriage. It helped all the things to set up the business this way and to have employees. Okay, so that's my story into it, as well as the fumbles and faux pas I did. So hopefully you're not going to go through that. But I am definitely understanding all the fears that you have when it comes to hiring. Personal opinion is that I think that women are more likely to hire independent contractors than employees because it seems like a higher risk and we like to play it safe often. But I think that this is part of our responsibility to the next generation is to show us having sustainable businesses and being women hiring women and empowering them by paying them well is just going to elevate the whole industry. Are you dreaming of launching your own interior design business but feeling totally overwhelmed by where to start? I get it. There's so much to figure out. Business structure, branding, contracts, clients. It's enough to stop you before you even begin. That's why I created Launch Your Business Bootcamp, an 8-week course designed to take you from confused to confident. Each week, I guide you step by step through setting up your business, building your brand, creating your client process, and launching with clarity and support. I'm holding your hand the entire way. You don't have to figure this out alone. If you're ready to finally turn your passion into real, profitable business, join me and a group of like-minded creatives in the next session this summer. Spots are limited, so sign up now at rwarddesign.com/launch your business bootcamp. Your business won't launch itself, so let's do this together. So, why is hiring employees better than an independent contractor? Well, you have a lot of loyalty and consistency. You can create a culture for your business much easier when you have someone else on board helping you. And there's more than one person working there. They can help you with branding. Of course, you have employee contracts, so it's set up so that you own all of the designs that they come up with. You can have a non-compete clause in there if needed. I've heard some bad stories as well, where a designer would take on clients secretly on the side and basically took her employer's clients away from her and started her own business. It was very unethical. There are laws in place that can help. You can put it into the contract where it can protect the employer with their clients, because part of the value of your business, if you want to talk long-term and succession planning, is the clients that are with the firm. Your systems, practices, and the client list all belongs to the firm, and it's part of the value of the firm, as well as the designs that are being created. And so you definitely want to talk to an attorney when you're setting up your contract for your employees to make sure that you have it set in place where it protects both of you. Long-term savings and return on investment. So overall, you're going to be paying the employee probably less than what you'd pay them as an independent contractor. Independent contractors should be charging more because they have to pay for all of their employment tax, whereas you're paying for part of it as an employer. So that usually gives them a lower hourly rate, but a more consistent number of hours. Whereas independent contractors take all the risk of not having any work. The person that they're working with could at any moment say, okay, we don't have any work for you this month, and then they have no income that month. One of the best advantages, though, of having an employee is that you have control over their schedule because an independent contractor, you can ask them to meet a deadline, but they are not required to. You can't dictate what hours they're working, and you're kind of at their mercy. So you want to make an employee, you can make sure the quality of their work is up to date and you can manage their workload a lot better because an independent contractor is supposed to also have other clients besides you. You don't know how much work they're doing for another designer, maybe. You might be overloading them. They might be taking on more than they should, and then they're falling behind. All of that kind of gets mitigated once you hire them as an employee because you know everything that they're working and you have control over their hours, which should be normal hours, 9 to 5, so that they have balance and that they can also check out at the end of the day. I think that being an employee over an independent contractor is nice because they have restricted hours in the day. Independent contractors working for themselves might need to make some more money this month. So they're working 12-hour days or 14-hour days when really that's not a healthy balance. And so knowing that the person who's working for you is only working from 9 to 5, that they are able to check out when they go home is better for them as well. And I've touched a little bit on the legal side of independent contractor versus employee. Here in California, over the past 5 years or so, there was a Assembly Bill 5 that came through that kind of changed the test for an independent contractor. My husband happens to be an employment and labor law attorney, and he's right now practicing as a subject matter expert for California Chamber of Commerce. And so he is in this subject all day long. Before, the requirements were just that the test was that they had to have their own business and that they had to have other sources of income besides yours in order to be an independent contractor. So they had to have multiple clients. The law here in California made it more stringent. The focus of that was to protect the workers, the employees, to make sure that they are not being taken advantage of, that they have good working conditions, all of that. The truth is that most designers who are hiring another designer to help them design, they cannot be independent contractors. They have to be employees if they are doing the core business of work or this in the same line of work that is your business. I can have an independent contractor who is a bookkeeper because I don't have a bookkeeping business. If you have questions on it, if you're in California, you can DM me or let me know if you'd like, maybe I could interview my husband to talk about this subject matter you're curious about it, understanding the law. I really like to be in compliance with my state and federal rules. I know that a lot of California designers are not in compliance in this way because most of them that I know are hiring designers as independent contractors. They could be found out of compliance if the state were to come and check on them. So it's better to play by the rules, is what I think in this situation. So let me know if that's a subject that you'd like me to delve deeper into. But for the most part, I am on board with having employees over independent contractors. And in order to get there, you just need to work on your mindset shift. You're going from fear to strategy because if you are wanting your business to grow or be sustainable, having employees who have your back and are on your team that you can rely on is the best way to do it. It's an investment in your company. It's not necessarily a risk. You learn something, even if the employee doesn't work out, because you need to definitely put some parameters around who you're hiring and take your time hiring well. But once they're in there, they're investing into your company and making it even better than you would have on your own. You're not just giving someone a job, you're building a business that can support others and grow beyond you. A lot of designers don't think about succession planning, but we should. There are ways that you can sell your design business. It doesn't have to die once you decide to retire. So having employees who can carry the torch, or business owner who wants to take on your design company, that's a big part of it as well. And then I want you guys to be thinking like CEOs, not freelancers. Part of having a mature business is being able to think like a CEO and make some slightly scary decisions, maybe slightly risky decisions. But that's how you get over the line where you're bumping up against. So you can't grow beyond a certain point because you're not hiring anyone to help you. Who knows, you might have so much more enjoyment managing people than you thought you would. So start with a part-time employee. You can have employees who are part-time as well. Like if your business is set up for you to be an employee, hiring someone else part-time is not a problem. Usually there's less restrictions as well. I know in California, like under 5 employees has different rules than over 5 as far as the benefits that you're providing to them. And then a part-time employee is often limited to the benefits they receive as well. So if you just want to baby step into it, a part-time employee is a great way to do that. And then talk to your accountant, your bookkeeper about setting up payroll. If that's scary for you, you don't necessarily have to do it yourself. You can hire that part out. Talk to them about other requirements that you might have that you need to provide in your state. I just know my own state and stories that I hear from other people. And then the roles that you might want to hire first to start with often are an assistant designer or an office admin. An assistant designer is nice because those are billable hours that you can have added on. Office admin, some of those tasks are billable, but some are just getting off your plate so that you can do hours. And so both of those areas are great places to have an employee in. And you're not alone in this. So reach out to me if this is something that is scary to you and you need a little more encouragement. We can talk about it in my design mentor. So the key takeaways I want you to have are to not let fear get in the way of your growth, basically. Having an employee is a great thing. It can be very rewarding. And I certainly have loved having employees. I love developing my company culture. I love investing in them, in their growth, and having my mission statement and our core values that we work on together. It really helps to unify us and it helps me enjoy my job and my career so much more having someone else alongside me. So hopefully that takes some of the fear around the idea of having an employee. So there you have it, my opinions on employees versus independent contractors. I obviously have an opinion on that. And as you heard the ad during the episode, this is a great opportunity to start your business. We talk about this as well in Launch Your Business Bootcamp. We are going to be able to set you up as a corporation and make sure that you have that pathway that is so easy to make your first hire because you've gone through all the right steps to get there. You've talked to experts along the way, and I've been holding your hand to get there. So Launch Your Business Bootcamp is going to be great for some of you this summer. Space is limited, so I want you to get in. You can sign up right now. It's open, and you actually can have some pre-work. You can start going in my Design Mentor platform to get you up and running before our course really starts. So check that out. Links in the show notes, as well as a lot of great free downloads and other things for you. So that's all I have for you this week. Next week, I'll have another great episode. And until then, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.